Anybody? Anything you know about the Upanishad? Yes? So anyone? Yes, Shashi ji, Deepak ji, Rekha ji, or Chitra ji. Anybody? Would you like to share something about the Upanishads? Anything you know about it?
It is the oldest text, oldest
Oldest?
scripture.
Okay, Rekha ji, is it older than the Vedas?
I think so. And I know there are
Or
108 Upanishads.
okay, Rekha ji says there are 108 Upanishads and maybe older than the Vedas. Okay, Shashi ji?
Um, they're how shall I put it? Let me see. They're ancient Sanskrit texts, and they're all based on Hindu philosophical, and they
Okay,
explore different concepts of
okay,
nature, Atman, reality, different
okay.
things like that.
All right. So Atman, reality, and we are calling it Hindu concepts now, which is right. But at the time when Upanishads were created, probably they predated religion, and Upanishads were part of the Vedas. They are interestingly also called the Vedanta. So Rekha ji has given us the number of 108. But actually, there were 200 plus Upanishads, or maybe more, 300 also. Unfortunately, what happened to the Upanishads was that they were lost in time because we didn't have just invaders who were trying to loot and plunder us. These invaders tried to destroy the very essence of our culture. They tried to attack at its base. Libraries were burned. We see that happening these days also. Some of the certain cults, they try to destroy what is the foundation of a culture. But unfortunately, we lost a lot of these Upanishads. However, many survived. So, as Rekhaji said, the 108, sometimes people say there are the principal Upanishads or Mukhya Upanishads, and their numbers are given differently 18. But almost everybody understands that the Upanishads are really ancient texts. But now, this Upanishad of Sri Aurobindo is one of the most modern Upanishads. So many, and Sri Aurobindo himself did not give the name of that this is an Upanishad. He just wrote something very beautiful. He wrote something very beautiful in Sanskrit. And this was given the name by the Sanskrit department of Sri Aurobindo Ashram. It is called Sri Aurobindo Upanishad or the Upanishad of Sri Aurobindo. When we look at it, we will understand why it is rightly so. Anybody has some prior knowledge of any Upanishads? Any reading, even a cursory reading or primary reading? Does anybody know something about it? Any Upanishad? If anyone can share something. Some
I
of the
have
name.
no knowledge.
Ji,
Unfortunately, I have no knowledge. I'm coming to you to get introduced to
I too
all
have,
the.
and there's nobody who can say who knows the Upanishad because the knower of the Upanishad will be the knower of the Brahman. and, and the Brahman knower will not really be speaking about the Brahman, he will be experiencing the state of Brahman. So, the Upanishads are, in short, texts which allow us to access this wisdom of the Brahman. The Brahma Vidya can be got. There are different Upanishads. We have the shortest and smallest Upanishad. If you have never studied Upanishad, you can just take up the Mandukya Upanishad. Within 12 minutes, you will. I have our YouTube channel. I have made a recording. I can share that link to you. Within 12 minutes, you will have covered an entire Upanishad called the Mandukya
Please
Upanishad.
do.
Yes, yes, yeah, sure, Ji. So
Thank
then,
you.
so it is said in another Upanishad, I think it's called Muktika Upanishad, it is said that somebody who understands this Upanishad would get the realization and mukti also. So now isn't that easy? Just 12 verses. Instead of 700 verses of Gita or thousands of Rigvedic verses, if it is so easy, reading verses would give us mukti. I think everybody would be reading it 20, 30 times to ensure I'm going to get 30x mukti. What? But unfortunately, the Upanishads are not something which can just be read and it's not something that's just by memorization that you will understand it. And just by trying to understand by the mind, you will not be able to understand it. It is the concept of the Brahman which is said to be beyond the mind. And these Upanishads, all of them, whether you look at, if you see Mandukya Upanishad, you'll just see Om being told in different ways. Om iti etad aksharamidam sarvam tasyopavyakyanam bhutam bhavat bhavishyaditi sarvam omkarameva. Everything is Om. Everything is Omkara. That is what the Upanishad is saying. Om is only the past, Om is only the future. Somebody like me who is reading it for the first time would be like scratching the head. Ki, what is this? Om is only all, Om is only inside, Om is only outside. अरे कहना क्या चाहते हो? What do you want to say? That is the first question which will come in. But if you can really go quietly, maybe with the diksha of a guru, or if an awakening takes place inside of the individual, he has identified with that Brahma Vidya, then the realization can come, and then we can even understand that yes, a simple question of who are you was asked to Adi Shankaracharya, and he replied, Chidananda Rupaha Shivoham Shivoham. He says, I am not this, I am Name Mrityu Shanka, Name Jati Bheda, Pita Naiva Me Naiva Mata Na Janma, Na Bandhur Na Mitram Gurur Naiva Shishya. Chidananda Rupaha Shivoham Shivoham. So there are so many such single words of the Upanishad which become a huge explanation if you just try to understand that word and understand its essence. They become Mahavakyas. And that Mahavakyas of the Brahma, that is what is found in the Upanishad, and the knowledge of the Brahman is found. But there is again a problem. Now, if see, Isha Upanishad is told differently, different translations. Isha is a very, Isha Upanishad, Sri Aurobindo has written a beautiful commentary on the Isha Upanishad. It is very exhaustive. And he has very uniquely divided the Upanishad into what we call four movements. Because he's somebody who has studied so many Upanishads and he has understood the flow of the Upanishads. And he beautifully described these four movements. Each moment has something specific. And a turn comes in that Upanishad when you study it. Because the first verse also of the Isha is the name of the Isha Upanishad came from the first verse of the Upanishad. Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam. Yat Kincha Jagatyam Jagat Tena Tyaktena Bhunjita Magrudha Kasya Svedhanam. All that is but his. Who is this he? Is it some landlord? Somebody who has lots of property? Well, in a way, you can call the divine that only. Only his property is everywhere. And if you see Narayana Sukta, it talks about all existences but Narayana only. There is no difference. Everything belongs to the divine. So here this Upanishad invites us in the very start, says Ishavas, everything belongs to the divine, living, non-living, everything in the world. The second line says, Tena tyaktena bhunjitha magrudha kasya siddhanam, meaning recognize the right owner and joyously forsake. Don't try to steal somebody else's wealth. That is what the first line says. What is that wealth we are trying to steal? Where we are trying to claim ownership over this world, over the possessions of this world. Can I claim ownership over my sister, over my
No.
mother? My mother is only my mother. She cannot have matrubhav for anybody else. Can I say that?
No.
Not towards my father, because I need to understand this is a tattva. This is a tattva, our aspect of this is a what we can say. This if we see owner of, can anybody claim to own love?
No.
Cannot, isn't it? It can. It has to be. It is something which is free. It cannot be under one person's possession. But we address the owner of all the loves of the world as divine only, isn't it? Because from the divine the love comes. But when you realize that everything belongs to the divine, the individual is a little bit free from the individual ahankar. Small, small possessions and controlling. If you just realize that everything belongs to the divine, it's so easy. So that was the opening. But then again, if everything is the divine and nothing is mine, why should I take care of anything? Owner should take care, no? Owner should take care of everything. Why should I bother? Is that a right attitude?
No. No, because it affects us all.
It affects us all. Say if we are a tenant in a building which is owned by somebody else. If I am a tenant there and I am living there, I cannot allow that building to have so much problems because that is going to affect my life, isn't it? As
Yes.
simple as that, this Brahman which is everywhere, that means we have to recognize that in the world also there is a Brahman. That is so important. If the Brahman has created the Srishti, the Brahma Tattva is there in the Srishti also. This is a very interesting principle which is Sri Aurobindo's foundation of his Vedanta or his Yoga also. That the divine is there in this universe also. Ihaiva. He talks about a terrestrial salvation because many people in search of God have forgotten human beings, have forgotten humanity, have even forgotten the world and their duties towards the world. And that is why Isha Upanishad in this very second verse also very strongly says Kurvanne veha karmani jijivishe chatam samah evam tvai nanyat hetosti na karma lipyate nare. Meaning Kurvanne veha karmani. You have to keep doing your actions. In which way? Recognizing that the owner is the divine. But do all your actions, all your duties. And how many years should we live? Well, people say, I want to retire at 50. I want to retire at 60 from my duties. But this Upanishad says no retirement. And you have to try to live a full lifespan. 100 years. Jijivi Shechatam Sama. Why? Again, the next line says it very beautifully. Kurvanneveha karmani jijivi Shechatam Sama. Evam tvai nanyat hetosti na karma lipyate nare. Meaning, there is no other way where you can become mukta from karmas. This is the only way. If you recognize that the divine is owner and do your actions, you will be what the Bhagavad Gita calls Jivan Mukta. What is called the Naishkarma Siddhi, where you are doing the action and you are still getting liberated. That can be God. So you just see two simple verses of the Upanishad itself gives such a big perspective of life and direction to go ahead. Because life, we go through so many experiences. Sometimes we go through extreme hardships, physical, emotional, mental, sometimes circumstantial. Everything is good, and yet circumstances so bad that you cannot really enjoy everything that is with you. How do I do that? Well, the Upanishad teaches that also. Whatever comes naturally, you enjoy as a gift from the divine. So that is again Isha Upanishad only. Why I said about Isha Upanishad is because Sri Aurobindo had himself reserved his maximum commentary for this particular Upanishad. And Sri Aurobindo had talked about four movements. And there's very funny thing also, a particular school of Vedanta which tried to dismiss the divinity of the creation was very frustrated with this Upanishad. Because the second verse itself talks about 100 years you have to live. I mean, why should I live 100 years? I want to quickly escape from this world into another reality. That attitude was not somehow getting justified by the great Upanishadic verses. So what was done? Any idea? Anybody? When something
No.
doesn't go, when something doesn't go your way and you still want to push it ahead, you kind of justify, no? Give a stretched up explanation. So that was what was tried to stretch and somehow say, see, no, 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 this Upanishad tells like this. But unfortunately, that also was not working. So then what happened? I think everybody has heard the story, no? The fox and the grapes. What does the fox say ultimately when he cannot get the grapes?
The great
Told,
Shastava.
yeah, exactly. So this Upanishad is no more a principal Upanishad. It was declared by the Shishyas of a particular Vedantic school and removed from the list of important Upanishads. Finally, good sense prevailed. The next generation they brought it back because this could not be removed at all. Because this was one of the important principal Upanishads. One of the most beautiful and poetic and most ancient Upanishads is the Isha Upanishad. So why I gave an introduction of Isha Upanishad is because, well, the way Isha Sri Aurobindo gave a splitting of the movements. Well, a similar, I tried to split Sri Aurobindo's Upanishad into moments and I found four moments. So it is very similar to the Isha Upanishad only. So those who argue that Sri Aurobindo's Upanishad cannot be considered an Upanishad, some scholars do have a lot of time in their hands to argue over different things which are not very crucial. But even those scholars cannot dismiss the fact that this Upanishad, this Sanskrit text, which was not translated by Sri Aurobindo, just written in Sanskrit, this is beautifully conveying the message of the Upanishads only. So that is the four moments is something we will try to look at. We will also look at some verses from the Sri Aurobindo's Upanishad as we go ahead. I hope everybody is able to see the presentation screen, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So let us just jump into what will we cover today. We'll have a small introduction of what the Sri Aurobindo Upanishad is. Then we will look at what are the four moments of this Upanishad. The first moment is what we can call the principle of Brahmic consciousness. Meaning, what is the Brahman? We all know different things about the Brahman. We are going to see what Sri Aurobindo has summarized because the first moment he leads us to a beautiful definition of what the Brahman is. And how nice it is that slowly, with the help of the mind is being stretched and stretched and stretched with its logic to the point that it is teaching logically to the mind that its logic is limited and there is something beyond the logic. It is time to take that leap into the supralogical realm. That is what this Upanishad does. So, the first part is the part on the Brahman. I would actually invite everybody to try and read Sri Aurobindo's Upanishad also. It will be very wonderful. It is, if you see, it's such a small book of the ashram. When I it was just 12 rupees it was something when I got it. It's so small. In 2010, it was just, this is so small. It is available in the ashram if anybody in Pondicherry comes often or gets it from there, or I will share the PDF version of what I have with me, the little bit commentary which is written. But I would still prefer if you can just read the original one also. So it will be fun to understand this as it helps us understand not only what is the Upanishad better, but it will also understand what is Sri Aurobindo's Yog better. So that is one thing. So the first part of this Upanishad is the principle of the Brahman. The second is about the sun of truth. What is this Surya? We have all heard prayers to the sun, isn't it?
Yes.
Why do we do that? Because we are all excited looking at a bright ball of fire giving us light, or we realize something behind it. We understand its symbolism, we understand its importance. And I think people who are not in India and don't see the sun really miss the sun so much. But when we get a chance, I think the rays of the sunlight falling on us, sometimes we know the Gayatri mantra also. So when we chant
Mm.
that Gayatri mantra, what do we say? We say, let those rays illumine my intellect. Let me get that clarity free from that darkness. Let me understand the truth. If you see Sri Aurobindo Gayatri is also going closer and it directly tells us that this sun that we are seeing is just a physical form of something else, or something else that has manifested. Om Tat Savitur Varam Rupam Jyoti Parasya Dhimahi Yanna Satyena Deepayet. It is the form of what is a Savita Surya and the light of truth and light of illumination. This whole symbolism of sun is there from the Vedic times actually. Not nor were the Vedic rishis so excited that they thought, sunrise, let me compose a Saurasuktam. They were not just like that. They understood certain inner truths. Different compositions in Surya are there. Same thing Sri Aurobindo has used, and he has used a beautiful analogy of the sun, the reflection of the sun in water, and how we can try to understand a higher truth through simple ways, in a simple way. So that is one more beautiful aspect of Mother and Sri Aurobindo's yoga is that you see how they take their time to take you to the truth. Normally, one would say, I don't have time for all of this. If you see Mother's words also, there was so much patience in those words and so much simplicity so that everybody should understand. And if everybody don't understand also, it was always they were encouraged to try to understand because in the process of trying, understanding would come eventually because that is the consequence to every sincere attempt and every sincere aspiration is coupled by the grace which comes from the divine. So here we see Sri Aurobindo talking about this sun. What is this sun of truth? Then there is something like a game of what we call the game that is like a Leela, we call, isn't it, in the Bhagavad Gita? That Leela of what? Where there is Ananda and Nirananda, a game of light and darkness, or the game of happy Ananda, bliss. And what is this Nirananda? Non bliss. Something that is which is covered in the third part of this Upanishad. And the fourth is the most beautiful part because very rarely do we see Sri Aurobindo giving direct instructions or orders. Means Krishna also does not give in the Gita. Sri Aurobindo also has nowhere given, but in this Upanishad we see very nicely we see an Adesh of Sri Aurobindo given in such a sukshma manner. He doesn't say I order you, I Sri Aurobindo order you. He says Anandam hi pravakshyami bhagavatadishtaha. Means with the Adesh of the divine, I am passing on you the message. Like a messenger, we see Sri Aurobindo himself acknowledging that he has received a message which has to be passed on to the world. And that is the last part of this Upanishad, what we call take home. Well, the take home is just Ananda only. If we receive that, we can just experience that Ananda. It is something worth experiencing. It is wonderful talking about it. I really enjoy talking about it. But talking is not enough, isn't it? We must experience, and that must be the aspiration all of us must hold. And what do we do when we experience it? We go to the
We live
Himalayas.
it and pass it on to others,
Yes,
hopefully.
absolutely. Absolutely. Shashiji has said perfectly. We have to receive it, we have to experience it, and we have to spread it. And that is the last part of the Upanishad. Sri Aurobindo has told this light. He calls everyone Anandasya Putraha, children of bliss. And children of bliss, you have to spread this light. Tamasam apavritya. Throw this darkness away with this light and spread it everywhere. That is the last part. So this is how Sri Aurobindo's Upanishad moves. And somebody had argued with me, why did you make four moments? You have to make three moments. Someone who was a very scholarly person and a friend also of mine who also consented to give the foreword to my book. But before giving the foreword, some question and answers were there. So when he asked me that why I think there should be three and I should be four, you have written four. Then I had a short discussion with him and explained, sir, because of these facts, I feel it can be. Then he said, yes, that in this light it can be four moments. So we have done four. Tomorrow somebody may make it into five, or somebody may make it two. That does not make a difference. How many are moments? This is just for our understanding. It is like a small child trying to look at a beautiful drawing of, I mean, trying to make a drawing of the sun by looking at the suns. I may put some eyes and a smiley if I want. Well, that will not really make it the exact sun, but it would be an attempt. So that is what these four moments are. We will look at them. And with this, we are ready. So, in short, this Upanishad was written by Sri Aurobindo in the 1910 to 1914 in this period in his early years of stay in Pondicherry. And just see, after 1914, it got published in 1978. 1978, so many years later. We are very lucky that this Pandit Jagannath Vedalankarji, who great Sanskrit scholar, he did the research on this. He even gave the Anvaya, he gave beautiful explanations also about it, in just translation, we would say. And then it was published. So when we read it, we will understand why this is the Vedanta of Sri Aurobindo. So with this, let us go directly into the first moment. Again, why is it important in the festival? I had talked about it. It is talking about material divinization. It's a great message. It's a message even for Auroville that the mother had given. The aspiration of why Auroville was formed also was for a practical manifestation of the principle of our Sri Aurobindo. So that is the entire aim of, you can say, the message of Sri Aurobindo, which is there in this. And if you see the next, this quote from Savitri, the spirit shall look out through matter's gaze, and matter shall reveal the spirit's face. Then man and Superman shall one become, and all the earth become a single life. Well, this just describes the very sadhana of Sri Aurobindo for the revelation of the spirit in the material. Now we see a confluence. We see what we call a confluence of science and spirituality. Various scholars are also recognizing that yes, science cannot be independent of spirituality. One is the Vijnana, and then there's all the higher knowledge. Everything must be brought in, and there is a possibility. At least that possibility, what Shervindo perceived so long ago, that people are actually realizing today. Let us continue. We go into the first moment, the principle of the universal Brahmic consciousness. So I'll just read out the first few words. First verse of the Upanishad of Sri Aurobindo. Om Ekameva Dvitiyam Brahma Sadasadarupam Sadasadatītam Nanyat Kinchidasti Trikaladhrutam Trikalatītam Va Sarvam tu khalu brahmaikam yatkincha jagatyamanu va mahadvodaram vanudaram va brahmaiva tat brahmaiva jagadapi brahma satyam na mithya. So in this very first opening itself, jagadapi brahma satyam na mithya, these lines of Sri Aurobindo, they are establishing that this Brahman is there in this Jagat. If we are going to realize a Brahman, if somebody has promised us we will get 5 BHK in Swargaloka if we leave this world, I think we should rethink this promise. We are not going to run after some flower from paradise which we have not seen when we can make this world a divine place. If you see in the Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna is talking about this life only becoming Swarga. You can experience the Ananda of divinity when you are in yoga. You are connected with the divine, and in that oneness, Ihaiva, Krishna says, Ihaiva te Rijitaha Sargo. Here in this world, you can get what we call a terrestrial realization. So let's not wait. I will take 55 births, or I will take 60 births to get Sakshatkar, or next birth I will do, I'll get realization, or how will a realization come to me? All these questions that we think of, these are all unnecessary hypothetical questions arising out of maybe old sanskars which are upon us, or maybe somewhere some part of us is refusing to believe that the Brahman can be found in this world. And that for such, when we have such doubts, what should you do? You should look at the teacher, look at the master, look at Sri Aurobindo's words. He says, yes, Brahmaiva tat Brahmaiva Jagadapi Brahma Satyam na Mithya. This is not a Mithya, this Jagat. This Jagat is a truth of the divine. That is why we are here. We are fighting all challenges of life, but we are living to get that realization every single day. That should be the aspiration. Let us just look at a portion of it. So here, what is this? O ekam eva dvitiyam brahma sadasada rupam sadasadatitam. He is the truth, the highest truth that can be attained. In his creation too, the same truth is contained. This is the Brahman's truth supreme, which is not false. even in the mortal dream. Beyond all three times, he is the eternal and transcendent. Of course, this is not a full explanation because if you look at an explanation for these words itself, it is very interesting. Om Ekameva Dvitiyam Brahma. So, who is Ekameva Advitiyam? The one who has no two, that is the Brahman. And how is this Brahman? This Brahman is beyond Sat and Asat, beyond Rupa also, meaning transcending forms. Anybody knows the three dimensions?
Young breath and heart.
Yeah? Sorry? The three dimensions? This one is
Omni.
space. Yeah? Acha, let us look at it. In one, if we say in maths, we have three axes, isn't it? X, Y, Z.
Mm.
In three
Mm.
dimensions, they go there. Well, if you see one, what if there is something beyond that also, transcending that? It becomes impossible to realize. Om Prakash, you would like to add something, sir?
Uh,
Yes, sir.
no, not nothing
Okay,
specific.
fine, sir, fine, sir. I thought your screen just came up, so I thought it was we were adding.
Mhm.
Anyway, sir, please let us continue. So this Brahman is transcending the time and dimensions of what? Where Trikala Tita, past, present, future also, the time constraint is also broken by the Brahman. Same also, the space constraint also. And the form also is formless, all these factors. So Sri Aurobindo has just given us a very precursory introduction of the Brahman in the first moment. If you look at the first verses, few verses, you will understand that. But sorry, we go to the next one. If you see the definition, if you see from the first part of the Upanishad of Sri Aurobindo, we see that the Brahman is omnipresent, existence, formed and formless, both at the same time, dwelling in and transcending the dimensions of time and space, permeating the entire cosmos, found in all entities, living or non living, whatsoever, whose worldly presence for matters of human perception can be termed as Chit or pure consciousness. This Chit or consciousness is what the Brahman is. And what is it? It is for our perception, means our mind cannot understand anything else other than consciousness for the Brahman. For our understanding, we can look at it as this. Where is it? Everywhere. Living, non living. How do we visualize it? Well, thanks to AI, I could generate a simple video. Let us see. Well, just 8 seconds. But in 8 seconds, we can just see where, everywhere. Look around you. You can find consciousness. And this is what our Sanatan Dharma also talks about. And so do the great Vedic scriptures also. They say, Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Chetane Cha Debhiyate Namastasya 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 Namo Namah. This Devi, the goddess who manifests as consciousness among all living beings. I bow to that goddess, I bow to the divinity there. And that is what is the Brahman also in the Upanishad. It is no different. It is Ekameva Advitiya. So that is the first part of, we can say, the first moment of Sri Aurobindo's Upanishad. The second moment, we can classify it as the Son of Truth. We just discussed a moment ago. Symbolism of the sun is found in whether you look at Rig Veda, look at Aditya Hridaya, look at the Ramayana also, you look at Gita, look at Gayatri Mantra, we even saw Sri Aurobindo's Gayatri Mantra. Everywhere, sun has its very great significance. The Aditya Hridaya Mantra also has very beautiful words that heart disease is removed by the sun. Is the sun a cardiologist? Anybody?
Mhm.
But how can heart disease be removed by the sun?
Sorry, I didn't. catch the last sentence.
No, if one were to do a very literal translation of a particular verse,
Yeah.
Rudrogam mama surya rimanancha nashaya. The roga of my hridaya, this surya is going to destroy and remove completely. The disease of my heart, the sun is going to remove or destroy the disease. So what now? We have a cardiologist sitting in the sky. How do we understand it? Can the sun remove my heart disease?
Um, I think it's light thrown, the
Yeah.
light, it's light that's thrown. I don't know how to word it
Okay.
correctly.
Yes.
It's the light that, um, it opens our inner eyes, the light that
Okay.
opens our inner
Is it a
eyes so
but
we
is it a
can.
mental thing, Shashiji? Mental or psychological thing?
Uh, uh,
Psychological.
Uh, well, I'll tell you something very simply. For me
Hmm.
personally, I
Hmm.
live in UK, and
Yeah.
if I don't see the sun any day, it
Huh.
really affects me
Yeah.
totally. Today the sun's out,
Yeah.
so I did manage to get out of bed. I didn't linger. I don't know how long the sun is gonna be there, but it actually it does affect me at some level or the other. So it is there. It's not something visible, it's something one feels.
Okay. Yes, Shashiji, and I think, well, that is very rightly said, but if you see some cardiologists also tell their patients to go and spend time in the sunlight because these are the properties of the sun. The sun is about dispelling darkness, but it's also, if you see, the fruits get ripened by the sunlight, the blossoming and what we can say, the growth of the soul also takes place. Maybe tomorrow clinical trial will be done, and the clinical trial will prove us that yes, heart disease also can, to some extent, be treated by sunlight. But what we are talking about, the symbolism of the sun, is something which is very important, and that same symbolism is what is found here in this Upanishad. So let
So
us continue.
Shruti,
Yes, Ji.
I'm sorry, your voice is distorted.
Oh, I'm sorry. Uh, one moment. Is it better now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. I think I did not have to invoke the sun, then automatically it has got restored. So, if we see this, the second part of this, after the Brahman is taught, is introduced, we see this symbolism of the sun. Let us just look at Sri Aurobindo's verses. Om Tat Sat, Yaccha Satchideva, Tat Chinmayam Jagad Bhasate, Chidatmani Satya Prakashah, Satyasya Bhagavataha. यथा सूर्यस्य प्रतिबिम्ब एकः शान्ते जले बहवश्चले सत्यः सूर्यः सत्यः प्रतिबिम्बः सत्यप्रकाशः सदः सूर्यस्य न स स्वप्नः सतः प्रकाशस्तु. If you see this, I just play a video. Can we just look at this?